Hello and welcome here at ReactNative EU 2020 Virtual Conference, and welcome to my talk, Bringing the Power of Process Automation to React Native Development. I'm happy to be able to speak to you today, and I hope you'll find this topic as interesting and valuable as I do. But let me start with a little disclaimer first. So in my opinion, there is no right way how to do process automation, so I can't give you one. Even in our projects, we have very different levels of process automation. So it depends very much on the project itself, as well as the experience and preferences of the developer. So it's all about the question not to do things you don't need to do. And there are a lot of different ways in general and for React Native in specific. So this talk should be seen as one possible way or as some ideas, but not as the only right way. That said, I want to start with a real-world example. So this is a real project we have at our company, and it's the one I was mainly working on the last years. And I want to give you some insights in this project to give you an idea about the complexity of the project. It's a language learning app, so if you're interested in learning a new language, you should definitely check it out. It's called LearnMatch. The project started back in 2016 and was based on React Native right from the beginning. We have a 3-week release cycle with 30 to 40 issues for every release, which contains 2 to 3 larger features. As well as 1 or 2 A/B tests. So we A/B test a lot to improve user experience. The app is available in 36 languages, and it also has 50 plus different country configurations. So we're able to configure a lot inside the app, from UI to different courses, and we deploy these configurations to different countries. We also do have white label variants of the app. So we have a business version, we have versions for third-party customers, which all share the same code base. We also do have some parts of the app available as web version, and we do have to maintain a content management system for managing all the courses of the app. We have around 300K active users from all around the world at the moment, and nevertheless, the app is pretty stable, so we have 99.8 sessions without crashes. The interesting thing is all the above is handled by a team of only 2 developers, and this is only possible due to the high level of automation we have in this project. And in this talk, I want to show you how we got there, what our tooling is, and what our processes are to be able to achieve this level of productivity and speed. But let me introduce myself very briefly. My name is Kuttig. I'm 32 years old. I founded my own software company in 2012. I'm a React Native developer since 2016. I made some small contributions on community projects like Async Storage and React Native Firebase, mainly because I needed the improvements for my own projects. And I'll try to write regularly on my Medium account about topics and problems I face in my daily business, as well as other cool things like the React Native EU conference here last year, which I attended and which I have written about. So if you like, you can follow me there. I'm working at my own company, Horizon Alpha. We are based in Munich. We are 25 people, mostly developers. We are shifting our focus more and more to React and React Native development, mostly with cloud-based backends, because most of our team has a cloud dev background, and that's where we're coming from. So we really like working with cloud-based solutions. We are working with all 3 big cloud providers, AWS, Google Cloud, and MS Azure. And when working with these cloud providers, especially on larger systems, you cannot get around the topic process automation. So process automation has a lot of benefits. So let's bring it to React Native development. Let's get back to our example project. So the start in 2016 was great. We developed a lot of features in very little time. But as the project got bigger and bigger, as the user base grew, as we had more and more configurations to test, we felt that our dev speed really slowed down a lot. And so we sat down and analyzed what we were doing all of the time. And this is what we discovered. We only had 30% of our time left for feature development. Over half of our time was used for testing, releasing new versions, and tracking bugs, which we got reported by our users. So we sat down with our customers and we had two options. The first one was to slow down the release cycle, so only release all 6 weeks, which we didn't want to do. So we tried to automate all steps which we don't have to do manually. So we wanted to automate a lot of review, testing, release, and bug tracking. And we did. So that's the 4 points I will talk about today. And yeah, we really saved a lot of time through the automation. I'll get back to this later. So to be able to automate, you basically need two things. First one is a good setup, and second one is a clearly defined process. So let's start with our setup. First thing to say, this illustration is simplified and does not contain all relationships or components, but it'll do for our case here. So the first thing you need is a single point of information. So this can be any list, tool, issue tracker, any service you're comfortable with. For us, it's a Jira board because everyone can integrate it nicely in his or her workflow. So if you like to get notified via email, you can do this via Jira. It also integrates into Slack, into Teams. It also has its own app, the Jira app. So the thing of the single point of information is when an issue is assigned to a developer, he has to be notified, and you have to have the guarantee that he reads this notification. So it's really cool to know that everyone can integrate it into his or her workflow as he or she likes. Second thing you need is a code management system. So we do use Bitbucket here because it integrates very nicely into Jira, but you also could use GitHub or GitLab. We do have some project where we use GitHub here and use GitHub issues as our single point of information. That also works very well. So feel free to use whatever you're comfortable with. Third system, and this is an interesting one, is a CI or CD system, continuous integration or continuous delivery system. This is basically a kind of service or server where your process automation pipeline runs. So where your steps will be completed. We do use Bitrise here because it comes with a lot of cool presets for React Native projects. It has a lot of steps based on Fastlane, which can be combined via drag and drop editor. So it's very easy to use for us, but there are a lot of other awesome tools out there. So just to mention a few, I have already worked with AWS Code Pipeline, which is a great tool. I have also worked with MS App Center, which works very fine here. So again, feel free to use whatever you like. Important thing here is the tool should be able to report back to your code management system as well as your single point of information, so that you have the information about your builds in the code management system and your single point of information. From there, we do fetch some configurations from our backend and bundle the release and deploy the release to the store. From there, the users download the app, and then the last of the 4 parts of our setup comes into play, the stability monitoring or bug tracking system. So we do use Bugsnag here because it has a very good React Native integration. We even can use Hermes source maps. For those of you who don't use source maps, you should definitely do. They are kind of back translating your compiled code to your decompiled code. So when we collect an error which occurred in our production version of our app, we see the exact line of JavaScript code where the error happened. So it's very easy for us to fix the error, and that's because of the source maps. So yeah, you should definitely use source maps. Important thing for the stability monitoring system, again, Bugsnag is just an example, and the tool we use, you could also use Crashlytics or Sentry or Instabug or again MS App Center. Important thing is the system should be able to report information to your single point of information. So I'll talk more about this later. So this is our setup. Again, it's just an idea how to do this. We use different providers in different projects. But I think it's a good idea to have at least these 4 components in the setup. So the single point of information, the code management system, the CI or CD system, and the stability monitoring. But the best setup is worth nothing without a good process. So you have to have a clearly defined process to be able to automate it. That's why it's called process automation. So our process is the following one, and I think that's very common. For every task or to-do or bug, we have its own issue. So for us, again, information is very important. I want to have a look at my single point of information and be able to say where the project stands and what's going on in the project. So for us, it's very important to have this, to have every task in its own issue. So coming to development, every issue gets its own branch. Every branch gets its own pull request, and every pull request gets reviewed. That's very important for code quality. And we do review automatically, and we do review manually. So again, it's very important for code quality. That's our process. Now let's start with the first automation. So again, information, very important for us. So we at first started to automate the moving of the issues. So every time an issue, a branch is created, we move the corresponding issue in the Jira board to the in progress column. So this is very easy, it saves some time because the developer doesn't have to do it by hand. When the developer opens a pull request, the automatic pull request review starts immediately. When the automatic review succeeds, we move the issue to the in review column and we inform the reviewer, the second developer who has to do the manual review. Again, Jira, very cool here because the second developer gets the information and the notification the way he wants, and I have the guarantee that he reads it. When the pull request is merged, we move the issue to the ready for release column. So again, I can see where the project stands on one side. And we do another thing here automatically. We create a dev build and we deploy the dev build to our customer's product management team. This is very cool because the customer can start testing immediately when we are finished with developing the feature, and he can start testing, he can give us some feedback, and I don't have to give him the test builds manually. We also create source maps here and upload them to our bug tracking system. So we're able to see what happens during the testing of the customer's product management team. So when there are any errors, we are aware of that and we can fix them very fast. So I said we start our automatic pull request review. So what is this and what do we do there? So basically, when the pull request is opened on our CI and CD server, a pipeline is triggered and we do some tasks. And when the pipeline is finished or there was an error, we report back to our code management system. And the first thing we do is we check for merge conflicts. That's a no-brainer. I think it's the same in every project. When there are merge conflicts, the PR gets back to the developer who opened it and he has to solve the merge conflicts. Second one, think it's a no-brainer too. We have to ensure type safety with Flow or TypeScript, depending on the project. For those of you who don't use Flow or TypeScript, you should definitely do, especially if your code base is growing. It's really helpful. Then we ensure a certain level of code quality and code formatting with ESlint and deep code. I'll come to deep code later on. But first I want to say some words about code formatting. Code formatting and enforcing code formatting is really important for the manual review process. If you have to do a manual review and you have different code formattings, it's really hard because everything looks like it has changed. And if you enforce code formatting, the same code formatting, it's very easy to do the manual review because you see the exact lines where there were changes. And so this is really helpful for the manual review step. Now to deep code. Deep code is an interesting tool. It's a Swiss company. We started using this some month ago. It gives you some interesting insights and hints and information about security problems of your code. It's based on a self-trained AI. It's used by developers in a lot of big companies already, like Google, Microsoft, Amazon. And best thing is it's free for up to 30 users. So the integration is very easy, so it's just a few clicks. So I would definitely recommend it, so you can try it out if you want. Next thing we do is we run all our unit and snapshot tests and we ensure that our test coverage requirements are met. We do this to ensure that every developer is writing tests for new code and is adapting tests for the code he changed. Last but not least, we run builds for iOS and Android simply because we want to ensure that the builds run on our CI. Even if some developer added some native libraries or anything like that, we don't want to have this, but it's running on my machine thing. It has to run on our CI. And only if all these steps are successful, a human starts reviewing the pull request. So if you look at these steps, we achieved two things. First, we save some time because we don't have to do the steps manually. Second, we ensure that some rules and requirements are enforced, which ensure a higher code quality and product quality. This is how it looks like inside our Bitrise. So we do have this drag and drop like editor on the left side. You see the steps here of one of our simple automation pipelines. We activate the SSH key. We clone the repository, we set the node version we need. So yeah, we're still on node 8. We have to upgrade here. Then we install the libraries. We run our Flow, ESlint, and Jest tests. That's basically one very simple automation pipeline. And we do have the option to change this via a YAML file. This is what you see on the right side. I really do like the YAML file because you can make changes very, very fast. So this is our review process, our automatic review process. Next thing before releasing is testing. And we do like automated testing a lot because it saves us a lot of time for our React Native app. So I already talked about unit testing and snapshot tests, which we ran on every pull request. We also ran them before every release. We are using Jest and the React Native testing library, which, by the way, is maintained by our hosts, the awesome CoreStack team here. If you haven't used it, you should definitely give it a try. It's an awesome combination and a very cool tool for unit and snapshot testing. But when talking about testing before release for our React Native app, I want to focus a lot of end-to-end testing, because these are the tests which save us a lot of time on every release. And when talking about end-to-end testing for React Native apps, first thing which comes to mind is detox. And there was an interesting talk last year by Wojciech Nowak. You should definitely have a look if you're interested in detox. And he gave some interesting insights. And we also have some detox tests in place. But since our main goal was to ensure that the app is running smoothly and looking good on all common Android devices, and I think you all know Android has quite a few different devices in place, we ended up using Appium and AWS Device Farm. A problem is Detox isn't running on AWS Device Farm till now, so we had to use Appium, which is not a special tool for React Native. It's for native app testing and web testing, but it also works for React Native apps. And AWS Device Farm is a service from Amazon where you can test your app or can run your app on real devices. So this is a pretty cool service for us, and I'm not 100% satisfied with this solution because, as most of you know, Appium comes with some downsides. For example, you have to use accessibility labels to identify your buttons and so on. But it does save us a lot of time, and it makes it possible for us to test all our core features in all different configurations on all common devices before every release. So since this really saves us a lot of time, I want to give you a short demo. So this is how it looks like inside our Bitrise, our CI/CD server. So we have this pipeline, which is called auto test build. Again, we have the SSH key, we clone the Git repository, we install the libraries, then we fetch some content, so we have the latest content and translations and so on inside our app. Then we do the Android build here. You see the sample release command. We still use the sample release command. Then we bundle our tests, which are basically Appium Python tests. And then we deploy to AWS Device Farm. So we authenticate with our key and our secret. We choose the region. We choose the unique identifier of the project. We upload the test bundle we just created. And we say, okay, it's an Appium Python test. So it gets stored on the device farm. And then we have this run test step. Again, we authenticate, we choose the project. Then we choose the test package, which basically is the test package we just uploaded. Again, we say it's an Appium Python test. Next, we say, okay, we want to test on Android. We choose the platform. Then we choose the APK we want to upload and test, which basically is the APK we just created. And then this is a very cool thing. We choose the unique identifier of the device pool we want to use for testing. So you can have different device pools, which are just devices grouped to a device pool, which you then can choose for testing. Here we can say if we want to wait for the test results, which we want to do because if all the tests pass, we want to make a release build and deploy to the stores. And here we get some information back from this step. So we have a detailed information available as JSON, and we do have a results summary, it's called, which we could use to send a Slack message or make a Jira comment. This is how it looks like inside the AWS Device Farm. This is a test I ran a month ago, but I wanted to use it here because it failed on 4 devices. And as you have seen, AWS realized, okay, it's the same error on all 4 devices. So it says, okay, it's one error, but it occurred on 4 devices. So let's look into it. We see, okay, it was our test suite which failed. We have this test specification log where we can have a look when the test failed. Okay, so here we were looking for this next button, and the element could not be located on the screen. So simply we wanted to press a button which wasn't there. We also get some native logs and some performance analysis, which is quite interesting. And we get this video recording of the test. So we can forward a little here and see what was happening inside there when the test failed. So here we did work with some sleeps to wait for the button to occur, but loading took too long, so the button wasn't there. We could have a look at a faster device. So here you can see the loading was much faster, and the button was there on time, and the test went on. So this was how it looks like inside Bitrise and AWS Device Farm. And next interesting question is how to handle the test results. So there are 2 easy cases. The first one is the tests pass on all devices. So easy, we start a production build and we deploy to the stores. The second case is easy as well. The tests fail on all devices. So that means we have some kind of error in our tests or in our code. So we have to have a look at this and have to make a fix and try again. Interesting thing is when the tests pass on some devices and don't do on others. So this can have a lot of reasons. So as you've seen in the screen recording, we simply didn't wait long enough for the button to appear. So I would say, okay, we have written a bad test, so we have to adapt our test. But it could also be that a device isn't available or a device has no internet connection whatsoever. So you have some kind of flakiness when using this end-to-end tests. And we haven't found a great solution for that. We tried to work with some percentage values here to say, okay, if 90% of the tests pass, we go on and start our production build. But at the moment, we fell back to, we just create a new issue inside our Jira board, which basically says, okay, the tests didn't work on all devices as expected. Please investigate, have a look, and decide how to go on. So this is how we are handling this at the moment. There can be other ways. So again, it's not the one way, but it's just an idea how to handle this. But again, it really, really saves us a lot of time, this automated end-to-end testing. So next step after testing is making the release. And I think I can keep this very short because it's just automating a list of steps you had to do manually. So we clone the repository again, we set the node version, we install the libraries, we fetch our content, we set some version numbers, we install the native libraries, then we make the bundle, we deploy it to iTunes Connect. We then install our Bugsnag SDK and we build and upload our source maps to our bug tracking system. We do have a similar pipeline for for Android, so we can run them in parallel, so we're able to make releases very fast. Just a little side note, we do not automatically create release notes and screenshots. We could do, but we decided not to do because we think the developer shouldn't be responsible for writing the release notes. So this is part of our customer's content management team or product management team. And these release notes, for example, are written by hand in our projects. Now our application is in the store and gets downloaded by our users. That's where the last step of my talk today comes into play. Bug tracking and stability monitoring, and where automation can help you there. So first of all, you have to collect your errors in your production app. This can help you find and fix errors so much faster. I think most of you do, but for those who don't, you should start collecting your errors in your production app. It's really easy. All the big tools integrate into React Native very easy. It's just some commands and some lines of code you have to change. So it comes with no effort. So you should start doing this. So when you collect these errors, that's the one thing. But be honest, who of you is aware what's really going on in the bug tracking system? So at least we had the problem at some time that we knew we have some errors in our bug tracking system, but we little bit lost control what really was happening there. So how many errors do we have there? How important are they? So we looked in there from time to time, but we didn't give it the importance it had. Yeah, we should have. So this changed massively for us after we automated this to add all unhandled errors to our single point of information. So now every new error which occurred in our bug tracking system was sent to our Jira. We had a new issue there and we defined responsibilities for this issue. So we assigned it to one developer and he has the responsibility to categorize it, to prioritize it. So we know exactly what we had to do. For that, it's really important or a cool thing to add a link to the details to the bug tracking system. That's just a little hint, because the developer who makes the prioritization should not have to go to the bug tracking system and search for the error and so on. He just should have to click a link and get all the information. What would be even better would be to include the needed information inside the issue. And again, use source maps for React Native. They are really, really helpful. So I want to give you a short insight in our Jira, how it looks like. We do have the line of code. Since we use source maps, we do have the link to the details, and we do have the error message. But I'm not quite satisfied at the moment, so we have to change some things here. So, for example, we are missing the devices where the error occurred. We are missing the number of occurrences. So we don't really have enough information to make a decision in this issue. So we have to look inside our bug tracking system. And this really helped us save a lot of time, because we simply don't have that much bugs now, since we fixed a lot. And when a user comes with a bug description, we normally know exactly where we have to look, and most of the time we already have fixed it. So let's get back to the illustration from the beginning. So in 2020, we sat down again and looked at what we were doing now after we made all these changes. And the cool thing was, we more than doubled the time we had available for feature development. So we were still able to run the same release cycle of 3 weeks. and we were still able to develop a lot of features because, and that's the best thing, we didn't have to do these repetitive tasks no one really wants to do anymore. So yeah, we won on both sides. So let's sum this up in 4 key takeaways. First one, automate everything you can. For every step in the process, on every task, we do think if we could automate it. There can be done a lot more automation, and we're on it. So if you have some ideas, you can contact me. I'm always looking for more automation. Next thing is automation brings you not only a faster time to market and a shorter release cycle, but it also brings you a higher product quality, since all the requirements you can set and so on. Third one, there are really great tools out there to use with React Native. So don't try to build some tools for your own. Look at what's on the market and use the tools. They're evolving rapidly, so it's really helpful to use the existing tools. Last one, collect all your information in a single place, which we call single point of information. It's really helpful to be able to go there and know exactly where your project stands, what's going on in your project, who is working on which issues. So I would really recommend to have and collect all the information in this single point of information. So to end my talk, I want to sum this up, the whole talk in one sentence, and it is: only use a human where a complex decision or any kind of creativity is needed. Automate the rest. That's it. Thanks for listening. If you want, you can reach out to me via email or via my LinkedIn account. I'm happy for any kind of discussion and feedback. Thanks again for listening, and have a nice conference. Bye.